Yeah, so how does a stem cell work, right? So a lot of people, and myself included, when I originally started doing these procedures, here's what we thought would happen, right? We would take this perinatal tissue, which have these stem cells and other cellular regenerative cells, we'd inject them into a joint, and then suddenly those cells would become brand new cartilage or ligaments or whatever. And come to find out that wasn't what was happening. What was actually happening is when you inject a stem cell into an area, what it does is assess the damage of what's going on there. And it sends out these tiny little bubbles which contain mRNA, microRNA, other proteins, and those are instructions on how to fix the damage that it just assessed, right? So if it's in the knee, it's basically going, all right, so we need some new cartilage, we need to fix these blood vessels, we need some ligaments. All right, I'm going to create instructions like it's a recipe, and it creates these little instructions, and it sends it out in this protective little bubble. They're commonly called nanoparticles or even exosomes, and they come out of the cell, and then they go to the tissue-specific repair cells, sometimes called progenitor cells. Basically what they do is make more of the same thing. Like you have skin cells that make more skin cells, right? So they're stem cells, but they're really tissue-specific. So they send out the instructions, the cells read this information from the mRNA and say, okay, now we're going to make these proteins. And that's what they start doing. They're just little factories for proteins. They start making the proteins, they create tissues or whatever needs to happen in that area. At the same time, these cells can evade the immune system and they turn down the inflammatory response that's occurring in a damaged area, right? Inflammation happens when you have damage, and it starts to take down the inflammation. At the same time, it's stimulating the repair of the tissue. And what is a really cool side effect is if you're using very young, like perinatal tissue instead of your own stem cells, it can actually change the your biological age based on your epigenetics. So what that means is your cells actually don't age. We think of them as aging, but they just function at a certain level, which means that they can function at a different age if they want to. And that's due to lifestyle environment. I mean, our cells start to get older as we get older in time, and they function at that age level, right? So unfortunately, a lot of people that I do this type of epigenetic age testing, I'll look at their cellular age. How is it functioning, right? And once we look at that, we can say, all right, is that a good thing? Because is your diet good for you? Is your exercise routine? Are the nutritional products that you're taking helping you? Is your environment helping you, or is it hurting you? And we can look at these factors just based on just a simple blood test that will really tell me how you're doing with your health in your life. So these are these epigenetic tests that we look at, which just are very, very so helpful for really looking at how you're doing with your lifestyle. So that's one of the things that I like to look at is how somebody's doing with their life, because you can change these things. So since our cells don't actually age, we can change them into a more youthful state, right? We all want to be younger. We all want to function younger. You know, when I do presentations, I'll say, hey, how many of you want to live past 90 years old? And let's see how many hands throw up, right? And I go, is that really true? You know, because most of the time, when you think of a 90-year-old or somebody above that, do you get a picture of this, you know, man that's athletic and strong and fit, or do you see somebody slumped over or in a nursing home just trying to survive? You know, unfortunately, with our lifestyle nowadays, it's just not the same anymore. You know, we are just people are falling apart, and but what if that didn't have to happen? So my job really is to look at ways into figuring out what is causing you to age and try to figure out how we can reverse that process.